Today we have a very special treat. Nonie's Ark Animal Encounters is a fun, educational, and hands-on experience featuring a zoo-type show with live exotic animals. The business is owned by a local wildlife expert whose goal is to educate and entertain. And joining us now to edutain us, that's educate and entertain, is Nonie with a couple of her friends. Good morning, Nonie. Thank you so much for coming on the show.
Good morning. Thank you for having me here.
Well, we have some pretty neat animals here. First, introduce each of them to us and tell us what we've got.
Okay. You're holding Kiwi, and Kiwi is a rose-breasted cockatoo. That's the name he came with. He's not a kiwi. You know, a kiwi is a fruit.
Right.
Or otherwise a wingless bird. But yeah, he was somebody else's pet, and that's the name that he got, and it kind of stuck. So that's Kiwi. I've got Walter, and Walter is called a chinchilla, and he belongs on top of a very tall mountain. Some of the longest chains of mountains in the Andes, in South America. And he was somebody else's pet as well. This guy belonged to a 7-year-old girl who got a little too busy for him.
Oh.
Yeah, that was 15 years ago.
Yeah, wow. Yeah. So they must live a long time then,
23.
Huh? Oh, wow. It's pretty impressive.
And this is Curly, and Curly is called a ball python. And that's because when they get scared or defend themselves, they roll up into a ball.
Well, that makes sense.
This guy I've had for 16 years.
That's pretty impressive.
They live
longevity,
30.
Right? And it's always kind of, you know, I own a dog, and I always get really sad at the thought because dogs typically live, 10, 15 years. So you're talking about pets that are living quite a long time, even past that.
Yes, the lifespans for some people.
Yeah, that's incredible. Well, I want to know about you and how you got Nonie's Ark Animal Encounters started, and why you got into this business.
Yeah, growing up as a kid in South Florida, my family always had strange animals, either from people's backyards, either wild ones or sometimes released exotic pets. Me and my brother even used to have contests to see who would catch the most lizards every afternoon in a bucket. Every day, same lizards. And then in middle school, I had a science teacher named Mr. Skull, and he's basically my mentor to this day, that he always had a good way of teaching us about animals. And then for career day in high school, I went to Busch Gardens and worked for the day. So I got to be a zookeeper for a day.
That is incredible.
Yeah. So that's what I wanted to do. I worked at a handful of different zoos, and even went to a zoo school in Gainesville and started collecting.
Gators.
Yeah, sure.
You're a gator, right?
Yeah. I'm not that into sports as much. I'm a nature girl.
Fair enough.
And so I had been collecting people's unwanted pets, and then I wound up figuring out, maybe I could just start bringing them and teaching people about what makes a good pet and what makes a bad pet. So beyond my zoo experience, I've created my own business, and hopefully helping some exotic pets in the meantime.
Well, you're kind of touching on that a little bit, but tell us, what do you hope to accomplish? Because, looking at your website, I learned about this new word, edutain, where you educate and entertain, but ultimately, what is your goal?
Right. To teach people about the pets before they get them. A lot of times, people are buying things because it's cute, or because it's pretty, or it's cool at the moment, or it gets so big, but they're not thinking about the age and how long it's going to take for that to happen, and where these people are going to be in their lives 7 years later, or 23 years later, or 30 years later, or 60 to 80 years later. So it's great if you're a very responsible person to spend the majority of your life with your pet, but how many people wind up in their elderly home with the pets that they've had since they were a child? That doesn't happen often. And could you imagine coming to your elderly home with your tortoise or your parrot? I'm sure that's going to cost extra.
Absolutely. Well, these aren't the only animals that you have, too. I mean, how do you come about getting some of these animals? I know you spoke a little bit about, for instance, this one came from a home with a child that didn't have time for Walter anymore.
And his name is, he's named after Walter Matthau.
Yes.
Because I got him the day that Walter Matthau died, which was over 15 years ago now.
That is crazy.
That was a long time ago. So I thought he reminded me of Walter Matthau.
Yeah.
The big nose, big ears.
I see the resemblance.
The hair coming out of the nose. Yeah. So yes, and that's what I want to happen. I want people to understand that they need to do some research before they get these animals. Just because it's cute or pretty doesn't mean it makes a good pet for them.
Right.
And then if they do have these animals, I'd love to share some of the knowledge that I can to help make those animals' lives better.
Sure.
And showing the people how they can improve the pets' lives that they already do have.
Well, and you do have some other animals too. Tell us about some of those animals.
Yes, I have cute ones and ugly ones. I also have.
But are they ugly? Are they cute in their ugliness?
Some are just ugly.
Yeah. Yeah.
I have hissing cockroaches.
Okay, yeah.
From Madagascar.
Wouldn't be a huge fan.
But hey, with kids, I change it to kissing cockroaches. I can
that really
always get
work?
one kid to kiss it.
Oh.
And once one kid kisses it, they'll all kiss it.
Oh, I think I'll stick with the bird.
Yeah, you want to be careful trying to kiss a bird, though.
Yeah, I know. He's already bit me a couple of times. Well, not bit.
No, just
Kind of
tasted.
Tasted, right.
Sampled you.
Sample.
Yeah.
Once I learned to pet him the right way, we were okay. So.
Yeah, and he's a very strange bird. He allows a lot of strangers to pet him. So he's special that he gets to be in my program and get to be pet by a lot of strangers, and he likes it. He seems to really like it.
Well, how do you know? I mean, because you go to all sorts of places, not just schools, but also you visit some retirement communities and nursing homes. How do you know what pets to bring and how they'll react to them?
It's always a new adventure. Even if it's the same person that I've seen over and over again, it always seems to be new for them.
Right.
Like some of my clients and my friends that have dementia or Alzheimer's, I love how each time they remind me of a toddler. They really do. It's always a new experience, and they're never scared. They don't have the fear that they did in their midlife, I think. So I definitely love meeting some of my older friends.
I think he's picking on me a little bit.
Yeah, he's just tasting, I'm telling you. He's grooming. He's grooming you.
Yeah. Good. Well, do you get any folks that react negatively to some of the animals that you bring?
Not necessarily. They will give me the nice, polite face. The no, I don't think so.
Yeah.
You know. And same with children. I hardly ever get screamers. Like if I take out somebody like the snake, I usually don't get a whole room full of screamers.
You consider you have cockroaches and snakes, and you also have some spiders.
I have tarantulas. I do. Yes. And again. I think the way that I present the animals, it takes away a lot of that fear, especially me being a girl. I love being a girl science mentor. That a lot of times it's the boys who are the most intimidated by my animals because I'm a girl. Hey, stop picking at her.
Having a little bit of fun. Why are you picking on me?
He's like, is this a tree? Can I get some gum out of this tree? Stop it.
So you were, we talked a little bit earlier about the tortoise that you have.
Oh, yes.
So you tell us about Shelly.
Yeah, my friend Shelly, is now named Sheldon. He lives at the Chautauqua Rehab in Defuniak. And a friend of mine, my neighbor, she works there as well. And so she'd always ask me to bring the tortoise up there so that her friends could meet him. And so I went ahead and left him there. And he lives in the middle of their courtyard. And there's a few elderly men who will actually climb down on the ground and lay on their hands and talk to Sheldon.
Wow.
So I consider that a form of physical therapy, that they are doing something they wouldn't be doing, climbing around on the ground. But they're also gardening for him, too. So some of the things that they grow in their garden, they feed Sheldon.
So what kinds of things are they growing for Sheldon?
Cabbages and lettuces. That would be some of his favorite things. Brightly colored things like peppers,
He eats peppers?
Yeah.
Well, that's pretty.
And then they bring him a lot of leftovers from the kitchen, too.
Well, so it sounds like you can eat most anything.
Yeah. And also they've had a volunteer who's come in and built him a huge house, so at least in the winter he stays warm, since that tortoise is huge. He's an African spur-thighed tortoise, so he's the size of an ottoman.
What?
Yeah.
So where are people finding these kinds of animals that they're bringing into their homes? Do they even, first of all, do they know, are they educated knowing how big these animals will get, longevity, and...
I don't think they are. I'm, of course, not there when they're buying these pets, but many of the stores that they're buying these animals from are a profitable business, so therefore, if you come in and you say you want something, they're going to sell it to you.
Right.
Unfortunately, they aren't giving all of the information that I believe the people need to know. The longevity of the animal, the length of the animal, the size they're going to get to, what they eat, how much they eat, and how much they poop.
Ooh, yeah.
Yes.
See, I'm not sure I could handle that.
I have ferrets as well, and they smell bad, even though the sign says that they are descented. There's no such thing as an unscented ferret. And they poop 5 times a day.
Oh.
So that's a lot of upkeep to keep your animals clean. So these are the kind of things I preach, with a little humor, but some honesty, definite honesty.
Well, when you do have the right fit for an animal, and maybe it could be one of these animals.
Actually, this one is my favorite snake pet. If somebody wants a pet snake, these guys are great. This is the only python that makes a good pet, though. This one doesn't get very big.
How do you know the difference?
Well, you'd have to educate yourself on that. And there's 3 main pythons that people are getting for pets. That would be the Burmese python, the reticulated python, or this ball python. So this ball python is the one that stays small. They only get to be about 5.5 foot long. The other guys get to be as long as a school bus.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty, to me that would be pretty intimidating.
Yeah.
Now, I have heard that some people sleep with their snakes. I've heard, I would guess that's not something you would recommend.
No,
probably not.
No.
Seems like it would be kind of a dangerous scenario.
It shouldn't be dangerous because most of us are large enough that we should not fit in our pets' mouths. But unfortunately, some people do have large enough snakes and small enough humans in their house that unfortunately there have been stories of people who have lost their toddler children to their pet snakes.
But primarily, this kind of snake is not a danger.
No. These guys are very docile. I've never met one that was aggressive, and I've been using this one for 16 years now. It's never tried to bite. It's never been aggressive. So this is something I don't worry about. I just hand them over to kids, and I can even turn my back.
Right. Well, I will say earlier, I had this snake wrapped around me, and I didn't feel scared or nervous, anxious at all. Seemed to be kind of a friendly little guy. So I will say that. Now, this bird is making a noise. What's going on here?
Now he's kind of just chewing curd, kind of like a cow. He's just, whatever's in my throat or whatever's in my crop, I'm going to bring it up and chew on it now.
He is pretty cute. And like I said, now that I've learned how to pet him, we're in good standing, I think, here. But if there's anything else that you would like to share with our viewers just about, I mean, in general, we know, I mean, it's a proven, studies have shown that pets make an incredible difference in your health and in your lives. And I know these are special animals. They're not your typical dog, cat, normal house pet situation, but they do make a significant impact. But if there is something that you would like to share with our viewers about, what you're doing at Nonie's Ark and what you hope to accomplish, what would that be?
Yes. When it comes to my elder friends, especially when it comes to those dementia and Alzheimer's type patients, I'm definitely seeing an awakening. And some of that research says that they are recognizing, and they're also not worried. I think with what we know about dementia and Alzheimer's is that the person is bothered because they can't tell you how they feel, and they can't communicate with you. Well, what's nice about meeting an animal is you don't necessarily have to communicate with them.
Right.
You just need to look into their eyes and speak to them in your own way. So they're not expecting a conversation back from you. So it seems to relax folks, and especially if they've met them before. I can see the light in people's eyes when they're like, oh yeah, I used to have one of those, or oh, I used to help a turtle across the road, or I had a turtle as a child. So I feel like when I come and meet my elder friends, that they're getting to remember and having memories of things that they hadn't really thought of in a long time. I like to take them back to their childhood by asking them silly questions too, like, is this a mammal? Or is this a mammal? And I jog their memories, so I might treat them as as young children, but that they still act like their own age too.
That's wonderful. Well, we appreciate you again so much for coming on the show. But I do want to emphasize that you can be found online, and you do have a Facebook. So I definitely encourage our viewers to come check it out. But thank you so much,
You're
Nonie,
welcome.
for coming on the show this morning. We appreciate it.
Thank you.